And we're here with some dude. Can you say hello to your fans out there, some dude?
Bestow Productions presents Creative Continuity at New York Comic Con 2013. Get the latest news directly from artists, writers, and the occasional celebrity appearance. Tune in for Creative Continuity's coverage of NYCC. We bring the convention to you.
So Bob, tell me how much have you had to drink today? Speaking with Mass Effect writer and video game Mass Effect expert, Mr. Mac Walters. So what was it like developing the game for Mass Effect?
For me, a lot of it comes down to the people that I got to work with throughout the series. It's been an amazing group of people. Obviously, the team's changed over 8 years, right? But the core team's still there, and a lot of the people who even aren't on now are still working on Dragon Age or some other property, and I see them every once in a while. And it's just amazing that we were all able to work on something that I think we're all unanimously so proud to. When we look back on it, there's nothing about the Mass Effect series that where we feel bad about it. It's just like, no, that was an amazing experience working with those people and the product that we created.
But where does the comic series now find itself right now?
So right now we're in the Foundation series, which is a 13-issue series. Mm-hmm. It builds off of Homeworlds. Mm-hmm. The Homeworlds was the 4-issue series we had before, and it was kind of an experiment actually, because I said to Dark Horse, I said, people love our characters, and they want to know more about them. And I wouldn't want to say, now we're going to do a 4-issue series on a single character, because I would feel like we're just making stuff up at that point. But all of the characters that we have, there's at least one moment in their life where we know something happened important, but we don't know the details. Let's explore that. And so that was the idea with Homeworld. So we just always one single issue, focus on a character, see what's like. It was very popular. The only downside was that we could only cover 4 characters. So then people were like, well, what about Ashley? What about Rex? So that's where Foundations came in, where we said, you know what? They wanted to do something longer. I said, well, guess what? We've got about another 12 characters we could probably cover, probably more if we wanted to keep going. So we did that, and then the only change we made was we introduced the Raza character, who's actually tied into the Citadel, the Brooks character, and use her to sort of weave the stories together. Not in a natural way. Let's just give a reason why we're looking at each of these people, just so there's some continuity for the reader who wants to stay through it for 12 issues, as opposed to saying, and at the outset that all you're getting are 12 single issues that all are totally unrelated.
Is there a possibility the Mass Effect universe could become an ongoing? Have you guys talked about that?
There's always talks about it, and there's always possibilities. The thing for me is that it has to remain in the realm of we are telling stories that we kind of knew were already there to be told. And we don't want this to become, and now we tell, random dude X's heroic story in the Mass Effect universe. It just doesn't feel right. And then of course, with the next Mass Effect game already sort of underway and in development, there'll be opportunities there as well.
How's the development coming on the next game?
So far, it's been fantastic. I mean, it's kind of fun going back to the kind of thinking that we did on Mass Effect 1, where you're back to some of the world building. You're thinking about the big questions about, well, where and when and who is the main character, right? Those are kind of things that we haven't had to ask ourselves for quite a while. And so it's been fun to go back and explore that, and that's kind of the stage that we're at now, is answering those questions.
Is it difficult balancing writing comics for the game, in the same universe, obviously, but then working on these games at the same time? Is it difficult sometimes balancing those two?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's very difficult. The reason I undertook the 12 issues and to write them myself was because I knew Mass Effect was over, the trilogy story was over, and there would be a gap there where I have a bit of downtime. Not really downtime, just back to a normal 40-hour work week. Then I could probably fit in the comics as well. Like going forward, it was always a challenge. It was always kind of like I'd have my deadlines at work, and then I'd have Dark Horse with their deadlines, and sometimes the two collided.
Are both sides pretty flexible with you? If you pretty easygoing about stuff?
Dark Horse has been fantastic. They understand that I have a full-time day job, sometimes a full-time day job and a half. And so we've always tried to be they've been very generous with helping me. If it's like, oh yeah, don't worry, we'll figure it out, take an extra week or something like that. I don't like doing that to them, obviously, but sometimes push comes to shove, and they've been great.
Do you have any other stuff coming up beyond the Mass Effect universe?
Currently, we've just got the Foundation series, and we're working on the game. That's the only thing we've announced so far. Yeah.
Awesome. Do you have any DLCs coming down the road?
nothing for Mass Effect. You know, the next big thing, of course, for the studio will be Dragon Age, and you know they're working hard on that. So I think as it starts to push along, we'll start to hear more about the Mass Effect series as well.
Thank you, Mr. Walters. I really appreciate it.
Season 2 of Da Vinci's Demons. We hear it's going global. What can you tell us about the upcoming season?
Bigger, better, longer. No,
It is longer. It's 2 episodes longer.
You start because I'm opening my thing.
We're basically expanding the show to take in a journey for almost all the characters, both geographically and emotionally. So all the characters are going to be thrown together in
Different combinations.
Yeah, different combinations you wouldn't expect, different dynamics. People that you haven't necessarily seen working together will have to work together, and not just in Italy. Yeah,
What we got? It's not just restricted to Florence and Rome. We'll be spending a lot of time in Naples, a lot of time in South America, Genoa. We're not supposed to say, but
Don't.
another place, another country, not South America or Italy, not part of Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the gateway to Asia. But Asia is on our. It's funny. I read recently about that document, that early document from Lost that leaked on the web, where it was like, it will not be a serialized show, and we will solve every mystery. And we kind of did something similar on this show when we were getting it going, where we said, don't worry, it's all going to be based in Florence. And my intention was that it was kind of a road show it's a quest show.
Right.
So my intention was always that we were going to be going all over the world. And so we had a similar document in which I just lied about everything. But now Starz is okay.
Yes, I mean, it's a strange double-edged sword, because there's 2 versions of Leonardo. There's a version that in the research I did about how he behaved in his 20s and what he was like is a version that isn't really known. Mm-hmm. And there is the version that everyone thinks and the expectations everyone has. Mm-hmm. And so you try and do justice to the version of him that the research showed, and the very sort of, just the other week I read a really interesting letter he wrote to a duke in a separate town outside of Florence, that was the most arrogant, almost like a borderline unpleasant letter I'd ever read. Right. But the thing is, everyone has this man in their mind who is far wiser and thoughtful and philosophical, and that is the man we're heading to. Mm-hmm. It's just going to take some time to get there. So it's holding your water. That's the pressure. That's what I feel is holding back on where he's going to be, in favour of the more sort of cocky version. It can be a hard decision, but worthwhile.
Also, I think, and maybe you said this while I was grabbing something to blow my nose, but I think that our general conception of him is this sort of Merlin-like, bearded figure, and that's just really it. I mean, he may have been like that at the end of his life, but if you read the accounts of his younger life, he was quite funny. I mean, he, by our standards, they're not particularly funny, but he published a book of jokes. Mm-hmm. I'm not kidding, and he liked to do pranks and things like that, and he was a vegetarian. He was an odd guy. Right. And
I just read a thing that isn't in the show, but it should be, for season 3, that he used to inflate balloons in the corner of rooms, just as a part of an experiment, so no one could get out. So they'd be going, "What is this?" And then they realised it was the
they were bladders.
He would bladders.
He would literally inflate these pigs' bladders so that they would get like to the size of 15 feet in diameter. And, although we're
that's not the version of Leonardo people have in their heads, though.
But also that we were in Florence last year when we were premiering the show, and we were doing this historical tour, and they said at one point, which I loved, and this is the sitcom version of the show, that Leonardo da Vinci and Botticelli had a restaurant on the Ponte Vecchio briefly that they ran, and it wasn't successful because they were more concerned with like the presentation of the food than they were with.
It's the Two Broke Girls version of Da Vinci.
Yeah, but that was true, and I just love that.
Yeah, it's as I said on the panel yesterday. It's very difficult to to connect with the greatest mind in human history in a way that will ever do justice to that side of him. But I always believe that he didn't see his intellect as something that was all-consuming. It was a necessary side dish to the rest of him, so it's really the more human moments and how he connected to the people around him and the relationships he had. That was the stuff that I could bring from my life into his, that sort of striving for perfectionism and the occasional self-loathing and the never believing you've done well enough and always trying to. Or never being able to concentrate on one thing at a time and leaping from subject to subject. That stuff is universal, and that's the stuff I tried to bring to him. And then the stuff I found out about him that came into my own life. For example, something that I have to stop doing because it's something that now comes very naturally is I read a lot that he was somewhere on the autism spectrum. A lot of people speculated that because a part of his mind may have been opened. He was. So I have autistic relatives. I wanted to spend a bit of time with them and see what kind of things they had. And one of them has a finger twitch, a very slight, when he's working something out. And then I watched a documentary since.
Is that where that came from?
Yeah, and I watched a documentary since it about someone, another autistic young man who, whenever he was working something out, would do it with an imaginary abacus in the air. That was originally just mathematical problems, and then it became everything. And I just thought that's a very interesting thing. He did it like this, which would have got in the way of every shot. But that I find, I've done it in the show, and now every once in a while when I'm working something out, I feel a finger twitch. I go, no.
Sometimes I had to tell you in the first season to calm the. I called it the finger twiddling,
yeah.
But I'm told by people around me that I can be quite funny, and but it was fun to write stuff that had some lightness and had some humor in it, and I mean things get very grim and portentous in Gotham City and Metropolis, and certainly with Blade, he's a bowl of laughs. Yeah, it's not, I mean, Hollywood likes to pigeonhole you. So in the feature world, it's like, write this grim, dark, gritty hero thing, and it was an opportunity. I'd never done anything historical before, so it was an opportunity to branch out.
No, I know that was the biggest surprise. Actually, is that the people who stuck with particularly people who stuck with the show to the end, loved it. I mean, I think it's the same with all premium cable shows. Generally, it takes a few episodes to get there, and then once you're there, you invest heavily, and that seems to be. I mean, just the nicest stuff said, and people being absolutely lovely, and same to you, I think.
Yeah, also I think people at the beginning were wrestling with I had always called it a historical fantasy, and so some critics took us to task for, taking choices that weren't historically accurate, whereas I had said from the beginning,
that's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing. But now that
it doesn't matter how many times you say it.
I know. But now that we've done that, everybody's fine with it, and now they're saying, oh, well what other characters like Dracula can he meet and whatnot, so that we've gotten over that hump. And people, it's found its audience, and it's built, and it did quite well for Starz, and now we're talking about season 3, so it's cool. I mean, he was only in a walk on the first season, but Torquemada was the leader of the Spanish Inquisition, and this season we're adding, there are a couple others that I can't mention that are kind of surprises near the end of the season, historical figures, but one that's quite fun is Amerigo Vespucci, who America is named after. And he joins the cast in episode 2.
Episode 2, yeah.
And what was fun, we were reading up about him is, he's one of these famous explorers that he's up there with Columbus. But you read about him, they describe him as this kind of shameless promoter, this sort of Sammy Glick character who, maybe wasn't that great an explorer, but just named a lot of shit after himself. And that's kind of our take on him in the show.
Okay, all right.
I'm here interviewing Tommy today. Tommy, can you hear me? Aloha, Tommy. Welcome to the dance.
This is not Hawaii.
It's not?
No.
I'm in the wrong show.
Do you know about Bestow Productions? We're the area's leader in video production. We provide quality, award-winning, and professional work in television commercial advertising, video for the web, video content for direct distribution, video on demand, and so much more. Give us a call at 570-486-4948 and see what Bestow can do for you. And now you know.